Lawmakers in both the House and the Senate have reached a deal on military funding. And of course, whenever it has to do with military funding, it's very easy for them to reach a deal. They're usually in cahoots. But luckily, we do have some congressional lawmakers who are progressives and they're speaking out against it. And those lawmakers include Bernie Sanders and Khanna. Now, this is all about military funding, right? And so they want to, of course, increase spending for the military, but Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative Khanna condemned the bipartisan compromise as a bill of astonishing moral cowardice that will hand the Pentagon $738 billion in 2020. Okay.
Actually, I just did an interview on this with an expert. It looks like it's going to be 741 billion. So the Democrats came in at 738, which is what the Pentagon wanted. And the Republicans came in at 750 because they're like, why not add more? And the Democrats compromised on 741, a number higher than what the Pentagon and the Trump administration originally asked for.
I mean, it's absurd. And so, look, this happens over and over again, right? So the NDAA gets reauthorized, military funding increases, this is what we're used to. But there's the added layer of nothing's gonna be done to rein in the Trump administration and Trump's disastrous foreign policy, including our involvement in Yemen, right? So Sanders and Khanna led the effort to include amendments to the NDAA that would cut off US support for Saudi Arabia's bombings in Yemen, which have fueled the worst humanitarian crisis in the world. Okay, but during negotiations with the Senate, the House agreed to strike from the final NDAA a provision that would have suspended the sale of US air-to-ground munitions to Saudi Arabia and the UAE for 1 year. But the House did that. The House, which is controlled by which party again?
Theoretically, the Democrats.
What's the point?
No, but to be fair, Anna, the Democrats were elected to fight Donald Trump. That's why they fought him. When he said 738, they said, no, we're gonna give you 741.
Yeah, this is the resistance.
So the Democrats said, we will give you everything you want. And then that provoked the Republicans to say, oh yeah? No, you'll give us more than everything we want. And the Democrats said, yes, we will.
It gets worse. House-backed provisions to stop Trump from attacking Iran and reverse the president's transgender military ban were also cut from the final version of the 2020 NDAA. So here's the thing, if Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats, they control the House of Representatives. So they could just hold this up and be like, no, we're not authorizing the funding until you give us what we want, period. That's what she could do if she were a real leader, if she were a master legislator.
Okay.
But this is so pathetic and embarrassing.
I want to give you the president of Plowshares Fund. He said, quote, it looks like the House got completely rolled on every single policy issue. I want to give you policy director for Win Without War. She said, Dems can't negotiate themselves out of a paper bag. They're losing a negotiation to Donald Trump. The guy who was a ghostwriter for Art of the Deal said Donald Trump couldn't negotiate if his life depended on it. Nancy Pelosi's like, oh yeah, hold my beer. I'm worse than you are at negotiations. So that's what we're in. And why do they do it? Donors, conservative Democrats saying, no, I have to appear more and more Republican. So please, let's give the Republicans more than what they want. Oh, the massacres that's happening in Yemen. Yes, my voters want that? Really? No, really? Any of your voters want a massacre in Yemen?
You guys, just yesterday, the Washington Post released a story that they've been working on for 3 years in regard to the State Department lying to the American people about the war in Afghanistan and what's been going on the ground there, and how much money we've wasted, and how it's been a complete and utter failure. 1 day later, you get a story like this, where congressional Democrats are like, yeah, let's give Trump everything let's give Trump more than what he wants. Okay. Let's give the Pentagon more than what they want.
So look, I want to go back to the provisions that Anna talked about and then add one more. The last one's gonna blow your mind. So Part of the reason that they wanted to make sure that they did not repeal the authorization for war from back in 2002, which started the Iraq War, is because some of the conservative Democrats want Trump to be able to start a war with Iran without asking Congress. Okay, all right, and they refused to roll back his transgender ban in the military. I mean, look, I've told you this 100 times, and I guess I was a little wrong. I've told you, look, Democratic leadership is conservative economically, but at least they're social liberal, or at least they're liberal or progressive socially, right? So that's why they're better than the Republicans, and that's generally true. But here it is, a social issue. And they're like, oh, it's combined with an economic issue. Economic issue is way more important. So we're gonna totally betray transgender people in this country. Totally betray them. We don't care. So then the only thing they hung their hat on is not anything related to defense or foreign policy. They say that they got paid parental leave for federal workers. Well, that's lovely, that's wonderful. And guess what? You could have gotten that any day. The House can pass anything it likes. It's controlled easily by Democrats. And then you go to the Republicans in the Senate and go, okay, you vote against paid leave for families. Go ahead, I dare you. And then we'll make ads out of it and say this Mitch McConnell monster wants to make sure you go back to work the day after you have your kid. That's who he is. Why? Because he wants the corporation that you work for, or in this case, federal workers, to go right back, the corporations to gain or the government to gain. Big government is forcing you back to work after your delivery. Are they gonna drag them out of the hospitals? These are so easy to win on. Standalone issues, so easy to win on. But that would require any kind of courage and the willingness to fight. Let me also say that Khanna and Bernie Sanders are legends. While everyone else is running for the hills, they say no, 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 vote no, vote no. I don't care if is it going to embarrass Nancy Pelosi? Oh, is it going to prevent her from taking more corporate donor money? So what? This is absolutely unacceptable. All right, the last provision that I promised you, the House also agreed to create Donald Trump's Space Force.
Hashtag resistance. Pathetic, embarrassing, sad. That's what Democratic leadership is.
There's nothing left to say.
Yeah.
There's no resistance at all. They just let Trump walk all over them and all over you. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.